Okay, we're going to try to do this quick, as quickly as possible. Lots to look at down here and cover. We have a mess, actually, and never really finished this project. It's kind of like my life. Most of my projects will never quite get done. In particular, the electric has been real sloppy, and probably not the safest way to do this. I've got everything kind of banging into the main electrical for the entire house. Probably not a good idea to mix salt water and that main electrical box, but that's where it ended up. This isn't going to be here for long. The aquarium upstairs is going to be taken down, and this will be dismantled and moved to a different house, and we'll replace the 120-gallon display tank with a 93-gallon rimless cube. There's just not enough space in the new house to put the 120-gallon, so we're going to downsize a little bit. But let's just document what we've got going on down here. Maybe you'll get to see a little bit about what my intentions were if you can overlook the mess. The Sump is a 75-gallon aquarium, do-it-yourself. I've added a couple baffles to it. Water drains from the first floor into the protein skimmer compartment and then moves through the sump refugium to the return pump. The return pump goes up into a manifold that would be controlling two reactors, a carbon reactor and a GFO reactor. Both are turned off right now. I've got to replace the media. I'll do that later today. From this manifold, it would head up into a second little manifold here. I added this actually to help with water changes. And what I can do by turning this main valve off here and opening this one is I can route water from the sump to this hose that runs along the ceiling that eventually terminates into the sewer drain where my washer empties. That enables me to do about 25 to 30 gallon water changes without really doing much. And so I can do water changes without lifting a bucket. Nothing special here with the refugium light, just a couple of outdoor floodlights that grow out. I emptied a ton of algae out last week. I can do that pretty much every other week. I can remove what is a 5-gallon bucket's worth of Kato. The protein skimmer is a Diablo skimmer, and I've had this running on the system effectively for probably close to 3 years. Nothing fancy like the lighting. I purchased something that was affordable and that was big enough to handle the nutrients from my system. I could clean this out weekly, but probably like most of us, I normally get to it every 3 weeks or so. About the same time that I change filter media, I'll try to clean that thing out. Scrub it all out and clean it, at least the collection cup. So that's the basics of the sump here, the sump refugium, water movement here in the basement, and how things move. I control my tank with an Apex Junior that I've added to over the years. The screen or display has messed itself up, and I was supposed to send it back to have it refurbished, and I just never really did it. And with the app and through the internet, through the computer, it's really not even necessary to have the display. Auto top off, I use a Hydor smart level controller. I've had this running for probably, this system kind of running probably for like 4 or 5 years without fail. It's done me very, very well. Got 3 dosing pumps hooked up and controlling the dose. I dose everything in the evenings. Calcium I just get bulk reef supply, calcium alkalinity, and then probably for the last couple months have been dosing this fuel. And it's really hard to tell definitively, but I think I've really experienced some benefits when it comes to the LPS corals. I have really seen them thrive, especially between water changes, when typically I would see them beginning to take a turn for the worse. Obviously, with the addition of fuel or food for them and replenishing some of the things that are being depleted, it's done well for them. For water changes, I have a bulk reef supply RODI unit, and I've upgraded it over the years that I've had it running. Our city has pretty dirty, iron-rich water, and so I've added an extra pre-filter to it. Although right now in what would be the second pre-filter, I have a carbon block that's dirty that has to be replaced. Normally, I've just got 2 pre-filters set up before it would go to 2 carbon blocks, then to the membrane, and then out to the to the deionization chamber. The water that I make can go to 2 places. I've got some valves set up, and I know there are probably a lot of different good ways to do this. This is just the way I've done it. I have 2 30-gallon drums here underneath the Sump refugium that are plumbed together, and that primarily is used for top-off water and also water that I need to mix calcium and alkalinity and other different things. So when those are both filled, that gives me about 60 gallons of water, and there's a float switch in there that'll help turn the water off to avoid overflows. That 60 gallons I'll fill up probably once a month. I've got the pump for the top off in there, as well as a second pump, a mag drive 5 pump that, controlled by my Apex, can push water through this tap. And the spigot gives me water for lots of different things that I need it for. I could use this to fill up my saltwater mixing station, which I really don't use because I fill that up right from the RODI unit normally, but I can bring it over to the table and mix my calcium alkalinity and so forth, and so fill up buckets if I need RODI unit water for anything else. Saltwater mixing station is plumbed in directly from the RODI unit. I can't speak. Again, with another auto top off or another float switch to help prevent spills. I used to spill water all the time in the basement here, get careless because it's in the basement, and let that unit run all night long and dump water all over the floor. I've got a Mag Drive 9 pump in there, circulating and mixing salt water, and have it plumbed into to this hose that when it's time for water changes, I can pop off there and move over to the sump to refill it once I've emptied water out from it. If this isn't confusing enough, let's just confuse you a little further. Got another manifold, another valve coming off of the main return line going up to the aquarium that pushes water into a newer edition, a 20-gallon Frag tank. I've had this up and running for, I don't know, probably five or 6 months. Lighting in the Frag tank is just an Aquatic Life 36-inch fixture. It's a little big, but it's what I had. I've got a small bristletooth tang in there that is not really doing a good job keeping up with some of the algae around. He picks a little bit. Miscellaneous frags from the aquarium upstairs down here. I had intentions of doing a little more with it, but I just never got around to it. Some more electrical, probably in a really bad spot. The next thing we have down here is my quarantine system, which is large. It's a 65-gallon aquarium. I used to have The 65-gallon aquarium also plumbed, connected with a 15-gallon that's sitting here. That was all part of this rack, the system. That's connected to this separate sump area. I figured if I was going to do a quarantine system, I would do one that would require less maintenance. And I figured a bigger system would be more stable, would afford me more room to do what I needed to do with new fish. Especially when I moved from this smaller reef system to the 120, I re-quarantined all the fish because I added some new ones, and left the system fallow to get rid of any ick or anything else in the aquarium that would cause problems for the future. So that's the basement system. It's a mess, but again, this whole system is going to be torn down shortly as I move, and will be reset up in a different place. And now, knowing what I know, I will certainly do some things different to keep things clean and safe.